We did learn this week that the CDC is conducting some random antibody testing in Denver to find out how much COVID-19 has spread within the city. Of course, there are still questions about antibody testing and what it might actually be telling us. So our 9 Health expert, Dr. Payal Kohli, is with us now. We have been taking a look at antibodies. Many people see them as a potential answer. But what do we know at this point, Dr. Kohli, about antibody responses to infection?
So, Tom, if you had asked me a few weeks or a few months ago, I wouldn't have been able to answer that question. But we've learned a lot in the past few weeks. One study has shown us, in looking at antibody response to infection, about 70% of people have a robust or strong antibody response. About 25% of people have a weak or low-level antibody response. And there are actually 5 to 6% of people that mount no appreciable antibody response. Now, you may be wondering what factors influence whether somebody is going to mount an antibody response or not. And we don't know the answer to this question yet, but we do think that it has to do with the host itself, so the immune system of the person getting the infection, how healthy they are, what their age is. That can affect the antibody response. And then viral-related factors, so how much virus were you exposed to, or what was the viral inoculum, and how did the virus replicate in your body? Because we're seeing that those individuals who got sicker may actually have a more robust antibody response than those who had mild illness or were asymptomatic.
So there are a lot of variables, not only from the virus itself, but also from who we are individually and how we process infection. But many people talk about antibodies as though this is the ultimate defense, but we don't even know how long antibodies might last or how effective they might be. So having antibodies is not a ticket to immunity, right?
Not at all. In fact, we've just had a couple of recent studies that have shown us that this antibody response could be quickly waning. So we had a study in the New England Journal of Medicine that just recently came out that seemed to suggest that antibodies are declining by 50% every 36 days. So there's an exponential decay of these antibodies, and this was in individuals with mild illness. So you can imagine if the antibodies are going down by half every month or so, by about 6 months, you're probably going to run out of antibodies. And this was confirmed by another study done by the Chinese CDC that looked at individuals without symptoms and those with symptoms. And they saw a 71 to 76% decline in antibodies occurring in the first 8 weeks after illness. And what was most interesting, Tom, about the Chinese study was that those individuals that were symptomatic appeared to have a very strong initial antibody response, but their decline was also more quick than those individuals who were asymptomatic. So this is definitely not an immunity passport by any means.
Things change as we go. We're getting more and different information as the weeks and months go by now. But at this point, it doesn't sound like antibodies are necessarily an answer, but they will provide us with many things, including clues as to what the virus has done, who's had it, and what it does to someone's body, right?
That's exactly right. And I think the way I look at the antibodies is that they're part of the answer. They're not the complete answer, because I have to also say that if reinfection was really that common, we would see it occur more than it is occurring on a global level. So it may not be the entire story, the antibodies here that are waning down. The other thing that the antibodies tell me, Tom, is about the vaccine. And they tell me that this may be a vaccine that we may need to have year after year, just like the influenza vaccine, because we can see that those antibodies can wane very quickly.
All right, I feel bad because at this episode of talking to Dr. Kohli about, we never got to viral droplets. Could you just say viral droplets?
Oh, I was trying to sneak that in, but
just if you could just say it.
Viral droplets,
all right,
Tom.
Thanks. That's all. I just wanted to hear you say
droplets.
it once. It completes the circle. Dr. Payal Kohli, thanks as always. We appreciate your time and your insight.